Dear Sagittarius, someone had to die. Not because of an accident, not because of fate, but because they dared to touch something sacred, the soul of a Sagittarius. You didn't know this. But from the very first moment they betrayed you, the wheels of destiny began to turn. And the price to be paid did not come from man, but from the universe. If you feel your soul is being called, write this down. I am protected by a divine justice. A comment is not just a declaration. It is a way to connect with the frequency of the universe now opening the path before you. And listen closely, because next you will understand a truth never spoken about Sagittarius, and the invisible price someone had to pay for daring to touch your light. There are moments in life when you look back and find yourself standing alone amidst the wreckage. No one beside you, no one who truly understands how much you had to lose just to keep smiling. And in those moments, you think, I'm the victim, they destroyed me. But dear Sagittarius, that's not the truth. They did not destroy you. They only activated a part of your soul that the universe had hidden away, a part that only a wound cutting down to the root could awaken. And the strange thing is, only the chosen souls are awakened in such painful ways, not as punishment, but as a calling. When Pluto, the symbol of death, rebirth, and invisible power, forms a square with the sun in your birth chart, Sagittarius, a rare phenomenon unfolds. You are pushed into the center of a power struggle where light and darkness fight for your soul as if it were a sacred relic. And when you didn't understand what was happening, your soul was being tested by fire. Because only the souls with great missions are truly seen by the universe. I used to think that those who suffer deeply must be weak, but I was wrong. Now I believe the strongest people are the ones who have collapsed and still choose to rise again, this time with hearts still bleeding. Do you know what makes Sagittarius different? It's not just because you're funny, not just because you're brave, but because your heart does not know hatred. You can be in pain and still not wish to hurt others. You can be betrayed and still hope that the person who hurt you will someday change. And because of this, you are misunderstood as weak. But in truth, that is a nobility long extinct in this world. It wasn't your fault that you trusted. The mistake was that the universe allowed a sacred soul like yours to be touched by an unclean hand. And now, balance is quietly being restored. You do not need revenge. The universe will handle that, not with swords or spite, but with law. A law deeper than any human court, the law of the soul. And you, Sagittarius, you are no longer a victim. You are a living symbol for all those who were once knocked down, but still stood back up, with the same unbroken light in their eyes. I want you to remember this. No one touches the soul of a Sagittarius without consequence. No one manipulates your heart without the universe taking note. No one deceives the light within you without giving up something in return, something deeper, holier, something even they could never have anticipated. And if you've ever seen someone fall into ruin right after they turn their back on you, don't be too quick to call it karma. Call it the backlash of mishandling divine light. If this story touches something in you, write down, I am Sagittarius, and I no longer live like a victim. Because when you dare to declare that, you activate a new layer of protection. A shield not forged from outside, but born of inner awakening. The betrayal you endured didn't come to destroy you. It came as fire to purify, to let all that is false, all that no longer resonates, all that is unworthy fall away like dust. Ask yourself, who remained after the storm? Only you, and the light you managed to keep. Not because someone lifted you up, but because your soul refused to stay down. You are not like them. You are not made to live small. You carry a philosophy that transcends the material. Your arrow does not aim to wound, it aims to mean something. And now, with the wound no longer bleeding, it shines. Have you ever noticed that someone no longer present in your life somehow made it easier for you to breathe? Share that in the comments, because the story you write might be the answer someone else has been praying to hear. But if you are no longer a victim, and you are now a symbol, then what happens when the one who touched you no longer exists? What gateway awaits your arrival with a soul that has finally been returned? Up next, you'll discover what truly happens when a sacred door within your soul is touched and the consequences break through the boundaries of the physical. Don't leave, because what comes next will reveal what you've always sensed, but never dared to name. Some things happen in silence. No one sees, no one knows. But you feel it. An unease without a name. A night when you awoke with a jolt, even though there was no nightmare. A feeling as if someone had slipped into your sacred space without knocking. And then you kept living as if nothing happened. But deep inside, something had changed. It was no longer whole, no longer light. Lilith, the symbol of the repressed shadow, when placed in your 12th house, does not only speak of karmic echoes, but of past life wounds rising from the veil. You did not cause it, but your soul was still pulled in, like a candle lit inside a room where someone else had turned off all the lights. This reveals, at some point in time, your soul was used, invaded, turned into a tool for an unclean intent. Have you ever asked yourself, why after leaving someone, you felt empty, drained, as if the best part of you had been stolen? Because it actually happened, not just emotionally, energetically. Someone used your name as the centerpiece of a ritual. Maybe you didn't know. Maybe you only felt vaguely heavy or dark clouds that wouldn't lift or recurring nightmares. But deep down, a sacred gate within your soul had been forcibly opened. Your soul is a sacred altar, and no one has the right to enter it with stained hands. Not everyone is sensitive enough to realize. Not all pain comes from heartbreak. Some pain comes from being pulled into an energy loop you never chose. You were only the destination, not the initiator. And then, the price was paid. That man, the one who secretly used your name in a ritual he never fully understood, paid for it with the most precious thing in his life. Not all at once, but piece by piece. First came the insomnia, then cracks in his relationships, then financial collapse, strange health symptoms, and whispers in his dreams. Things no one could explain, but you could feel. You knew it was tied to you, but had no idea what to do. And here's what I want you to remember. What begins in manipulation will always return with a matching cost. You don't need to strike back. You don't need to wish them harm. The universe, through pure energy, will return everything to its rightful place. Why am I telling you this? Because I know there are people like you still living in the echo of a touch that was never permitted. They're gone, but you still feel that something hasn't been restored, a piece of light, a piece of freedom, a piece of peace. Have you ever felt like something clings to you, even after you've forgiven, let go, and walked away? If so, you are not alone. And it's not because you're weak. It's because someone once touched your soul. You don't need to understand every ritual. You don't need to know what they did, where they did it, or with whom. You only need to know that your soul is no longer a place they can ever return to. You have been named, and that forever revokes their access. If this resonates with you, write this down. I reclaim my energy and the sovereignty of my soul. No one can recover your light except you. And when you dare to declare that, you activate the highest spiritual protection. I know you may have forgiven, but you still feel the hurt, still feel the emptiness, still feel unsettled at times. And you ask, if they've already paid the price, then why does it still hurt? Because a part of you hasn't been closed. A door is still left open, not for them to enter, but for old memories to rush in every time your heart grows weak. And to close that door, you can't just wait for time to do it. You must look directly at the wound no one else has ever seen. So I'll take you deep into what no one dares to say out loud. The reason you still hurt, even though it's all behind you. The most painful place isn't where you were betrayed. It's where you once believed you didn't deserve to be loved in purity. Keep walking with me. Some souls weren't born to be heroes in the light, but to learn how to ignite light from the darkest corners of their own heart. You, Sagittarius, are not just a survivor. You are the one chosen to heal. And the price of that is the scar you still carry each day. In astrology, Chiron, the minor planet known as the wounded healer, when passing through Sagittarius, does not bring peace. It brings tearing away false beliefs, tearing off the mask of strength you tried to wear, tearing open the memories you thought had gone quiet so you can learn to touch your pain without dying from it. You've done this before, haven't you? Smiling so others would think you're fine, nodding gently while your soul just wanted to scream, quietly wrapping your pain away so no one would see, because if you collapsed, who would hold up everyone else? Others saw you smile, but only you knew. Each smile was a breath taken through ash. I want you to know that doesn't make you weak. It makes you sacred. I believe God does not create wounds to punish, but to bless you with a kind of light no one else could ever carry. That light doesn't shine from perfection, but from the places that broke, that you learned to pick up, clean gently, and love as an inseparable part of you. And you, Sagittarius, are the embodiment of that. You are not a summer sun, pleasant and forgettable. You are the sacred flame, where others come to warm themselves when the world inside them freezes. I once met a woman born under Sagittarius. She lost her entire family in a tragic accident, and yet she was always the first to reach out and hold those in sorrow. When I asked her where her strength came from, she didn't answer with words. She simply placed her hand on her chest and said, "Because I know what it feels like to have no one hold you." That is the gift of the scar, not to recall pain, but to recognize someone who's hurting just like you once did, and say with your eyes, "I understand, and you will get through this." If you've ever felt the need to be strong, simply because no one else could afford to fall apart, write this down. I survived with my soul. Because you didn't just stay alive, you lived without letting your heart turn to stone. The nobility of Sagittarius isn't that you know many things. It's that you understand human pain, and you never use it to look down on others, but to forgive them. Maybe you've blamed yourself for trusting too much, for opening your heart too easily, for giving your all, only to receive a lie in return. But the truth is, you weren't wrong. The world needs more people like you, not fewer. And now that you've walked through the dark, your wound is no longer a flaw. It's a sacred mark, a seal that you've walked through hell and returned without letting the fire burn your heart away. Maybe someone once asked you, "Why don't you hate them?" And you just smiled, because you knew that forgiveness is how you refuse to let them live forever inside you. Sagittarius, you are a mirror reflecting the light of souls who once believed they had nothing left to believe in. And when they see you, standing there with calm eyes and a scar you don't try to hide, they know they too can survive. You don't need to shout. Your existence is the echo. And for those quiet enough to listen, you are the very comfort they once prayed to receive. You stepped out of the darkness not to talk about it, but to lead others through, without needing to name it. And from the very place you thought you had shattered, destiny begins to take shape. Up next, you'll see, when a soul survives the dark, what truly rises from the ashes, and why you can never go back to being ordinary again. Don't leave. Because the journey of a Sagittarius only truly begins when the light within you no longer fears its own fire. Have you ever asked yourself, why do I keep getting pushed to the bottom? Why is it that every time I stand back up, something else comes crashing down? Why out of all the people, am I the one who has to carry so much? You are an arrow, and when Jupiter, the ruling planet of Sagittarius, ends its retrograde, it's not just an astronomical event, it is a sacred sign that it's time for you to be released, with nothing holding you back. Along with it comes the final lesson about faith, expansion, and healing. It's not just the planet of knowledge, but the planet of destiny, and belief in a justice greater than any man-made law. When Jupiter returns to its direct motion, it's not just astronomy. It's the universe whispering to Sagittarius, "You may rise now, nothing binds you anymore. You've been broken by things no one else could see. You've laid your head in your hands at night, until you had no tears left to cry. And yet the next morning, you still opened your eyes. You still breathed. You still walked, even if every step felt like walking on shards of glass. No one called it a miracle, but I do. Every time you fell was another time the arrow was pulled back so it could fly farther. And Sagittarius, you've been pulled back far enough. It's time to fly. Power does not come from never breaking. True strength comes from breaking and piecing yourself back together with light. The world doesn't need more people who are successful, wealthy, or famous. The world needs people who are real. And Sagittarius, souls like yours, who dare to live truthfully, are the last hope in a world suffocating under the mask of illusion. You used to believe you had to be strong to be loved, had to be wise to be respected, had to keep smiling so no one would walk away. But now, you realize, only when you allow silence can you hear the true voice of your soul. And once you hear it, you no longer need to play anyone else. Have you ever felt that your light made others uncomfortable? It's not because you were too bright. It's because you unknowingly illuminated the parts they were trying to hide. And once you understand that, you stop apologizing for your glow. You embrace it as your mission. If you've been through a fall that made you feel like you would never be the same again, write this down. I am Sagittarius, and I am flying with wings reborn. You don't need anyone to certify your strength. Your very existence is the proof. I used to think that light was the easiest part of a person. But the truth is, light comes only after you've walked through fire. After you've sat in darkness long enough to see things for what they really are, and still choose kindness. That's what Sagittarius can do. You are the ones who have hurt, who've been broken, who've lost, but still love, still believe in goodness, still reach for others, even when you've been betrayed. You're the ones who tell stories of hell, not to scare people, but to guide them out of it. And when you start walking with a new kind of faith, when the arrow no longer points at anyone else, but flies toward your own becoming, you return to your essence, the fire bearer of hope. You don't need to scream to be heard. The universe hears you. You don't need to beg to be seen. The light you radiate is already shaking the frequency of awakened souls. And then, when your light truly begins to spread, you'll notice something strange. The old darkness returns. But not to destroy you, to test you one last time. Next, you'll understand why the brighter your light becomes, the more intense the challenge, and how to protect your soul when old forces try to reclaim a space you've already freed yourself from. Stay here because you're very close to the moment destiny finally opens. There is a kind of justice, with no judge, no accuser, no audience. It happens in silence. No verdict is read, no trial is held. But when Pluto, the planet of death, rebirth, power, and deep shadows, stands in opposition to the ascendant of Sagittarius, a soul tribunal begins. Not to condemn you, but to return what was stolen, quietly, sacredly. Do you feel it? Lately, a person who once hurt you disappeared from your life without explanation. A collapse no one dares to speak of. An ending that needed no push from you. But deep in your heart, you know this wasn't coincidence, it was consequence. Sometimes justice doesn't come through law, it comes through a death. Unspoken, unmourned, but your soul knows. Can you hear the silent shattering of the dark when it realizes it can never touch you again? No one sees it, but inside you, a door just closed forever. The truth is, some deaths are not punishment, they are final judgments. Not to end a life, but to close a cycle of darkness they willingly awakened when they touched your soul the wrong way. Maybe you don't hold a grudge, maybe you've already forgiven, but the universe never forgets. Not out of pettiness, but because every soul has its own law, and those who cross that sacred line must return to where they began. You don't have to witness it. You don't need to feel joy or sorrow, because you are no longer a part of that game. It was a very quiet day, no major event, no news, but deep inside, something exhaled, as if a door had just closed forever, as if a piece of darkness had finally let go of you. That's when you feel no one can touch you anymore. Not because you've turned cold, but because your soul is now eternally protected. And I want you to know, you're not alone in sensing that. Because many Sagittarius souls, honest and brave, are living with the same feeling you have. A silent freedom, so deep, words can't explain it. If you've ever seen someone fall, and no one said a word, no one explained, no one named it, write this down. Justice needs no voice, only truth. It wasn't revenge. It was a sacred ending, carried out by the universe. The moment light was no longer being held hostage. The truth is, those who once had power over you, no longer do. Not because they've grown weaker, but because you've risen beyond the energetic field they could once reach. And at this new height, you don't need protection, because your own frequency is the unbreakable shield. Maybe you don't need anyone to validate that you made it through, because the peace inside you is the strongest proof of all. And now, the question is no longer who hurt you. The real question is, now that your soul has been returned to you, what will you do with it? You can go back to who you used to be, or you can become the version the universe has kept hidden, waiting for this very moment to come to life. Next, you will walk into the most sacred question of all. After everything, will you dare to live in your true light? because not everyone has the courage to be free. But Sagittarius, you've already paid the price. And now, you are the one chosen. Sagittarius, you've been through more than anyone knows. You stood up without needing applause. You forgave when you had every right to be furious. And you kept your light even when the world tried to extinguish it. Thank you for staying, for not giving up, for listening to the voice of your soul. If you're ready to live in the light the universe has given you, comment, "I choose to live truthfully, and my light has been activated." And don't forget to share this video, because maybe you are the one who will help someone else remember they were chosen too. And if you believe your light deserves to be seen, like, comment, and share this with someone who needs to hear it too. Because maybe you will be the one who helps them remember they were chosen too.